ghost-like creatures wiped out the heavily armed professional fighters in seconds. The ghosts are immune to gunfire and can parse through matter. During the deadly operation, it is revealed that these ghosts were created by enemy scientists. But how do you fight such an adversary? Hi guys, with you Avranzet. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching my videos and subscribing. An American soldier gets separated from his team during the war in Transnistria and infiltrates a building alone. Wearing hyper-spectral goggles, he sees a row of frozen bodies and encounters a translucent humanoid creature. The soldier's goggles transmit everything he sees to the base, but before he can request information, the ghost passes through him, taking his life. Mark is a scientist working for DARPA, the U.S. Department of Defense's Office of Advanced Research Projects. He has developed a machine capable of disintegrating materials using waves and is giving a special demonstration to his superiors. However, they immediately ask him to start testing the machine on humans for possible use as a weapon. Later, Mark explains to his boss that he does not want to use science for harm, but he reminds him that they work for the government and must follow certain protocols. The military orders Mark to fly to Moldova to solve a problem with the glasses he invented. Arriving at the American base in Chisinau, Mark meets General Orland and CIA officer Fran. Orland shows Mark a recording of a ghost that the goggles captured before the soldier's death. Mark notices something on the screen before the anomaly appears, and Orland tells him that their security cameras have picked up a similar pattern several times in the last 3 weeks. At first, they assumed it was interference, but the loss of their best soldier indicates that something else is going on. After conducting an autopsy, they discovered that the soldier's internal organs had been frozen and his skin burned. Moreover, over the past few weeks, they have discovered more deaths in the same way. In the midst of the grim war, local teenagers have painted avatars on the sites of the deaths. The avatars are believed to be the ghosts of war, a local myth, and the CIA thinks it may be a form of cloaking technology. However, the death of an American soldier casts doubt on this theory. To investigate further, Mark suggests using his hyperspectral camera, a more powerful device capable of to see much deeper into the spectrum of light. After Orland approves this plan, Mark joins a team of Delta Force fighters to find the missing team. While installing the camera on a military truck, the soldiers begin to berate Mark for interfering with the design of their weapons. Captain Cabrero, longtime friend of Mark's, reprimands the team and reminds them that it was Mark's team that built their trucks and weapons. Major Sestia isn't thrilled with the idea of bringing a civilian along. He makes Mark promise that his vehicles will protect them better this time. The next day, the team gathers to discuss their upcoming mission, which is to break into a 5-story apartment building. The previous group went missing on this mission, and contact with them was lost the day before. The area is under rebel control, so they need to be ready for battle. Despite the possibility of encountering anomalies, their main objective is to rescue all survivors and get out of the area safely. Fran provides information about the anomalies, saying they are probably just regular soldiers wearing advanced electronic camouflage. Fran insisted on taking part in the operation, and Mark was assigned to sit in the truck and watch the action through the cameras on the soldiers' helmets. The team arrives at the building unhindered and immediately begins exploring the premises. As a result, they find both soldiers and rebels who died under similar mysterious circumstances. They soon find Sergeant Comstick, who is hiding under a bathtub. He reports that his entire crew has been killed, and he himself witnessed something supernatural. They move to the next floor, where they encounter a ghost immune to gunfire. As a result, it rushes through the person, killing him instantly. The rest of the team are also attacked by the ghost and die one by one. Mark suggests they retreat, but Fran refuses, saying they need to gather more information. But seeing that not even grenades can stop the ghosts, Cabrero orders them to retreat. The survivors are faced with the daunting task of escaping the ghost. The team makes decisions to escape out of the window, but the ghost pursues them and continues to destroy everyone in its path. Meanwhile, Mark seizes the opportunity to capture the ghost's appearance with his hyperspectral camera. The screen shows that the anomaly has a humanoid form and even a quite human face. Cabrera tries to attack the ghost, but his actions are unsuccessful and he too is killed by this deadly force. Only a few soldiers manage to escape and return to the truck. While driving away from the site of the attack, the group accidentally hits a booby-trapped area. As a result, the vehicle falls on its side. Comstock, who witnessed the apparition and hid under the bathtub for several hours, hits his head and dies, as does the driver. Mark detaches the camera from the truck and takes it with him. The team decides to take shelter in an abandoned factory and try to contact the base. But the radios don't work properly. The group discusses the strange events they've witnessed and eventually recognize that they are dealing with something supernatural, not technology. Mark describes the ghost, noting that it looked human and seemed to be conscious. Despite this, he is still unsure of the creature's true nature. As a result of the accident, all of the soldiers' glasses were destroyed, but Mark suggests using a hyperspectral camera to investigate the surroundings. The team discovers that several ghosts are trying to get to them, but they can't because the building is surrounded by a circle of iron filings that hurt them. The team concludes that the circle is a protective barrier that was probably set up by someone living nearby. Suddenly, they hear a noise from another room. Once inside, the soldiers find out that the noise was made by a brother and sister who don't speak English but can communicate with Fran, who speaks their language. In the same room, they discover a transmission tower sending out a powerful signal that can be heard by anyone in a 20-mile radius, including the enemy. However, one of the squad members insists that this is the only way to survive and contact the base. While the military tries to establish communication with the base, Mark talks to the children with the help of Fran as translator. The girl's name is Sari. She says her father created a barrier around the building, and she believes that the ghosts they encountered are lost souls stuck between life and death and unable to find peace. But Mark needs to know more and asks Sari for her father's whereabouts. The girl agrees to show the place and so leaves her brother Bogdan with the soldiers. It turns out that Sari has not yet told her brother that their father died during the installation of the barrier. While examining the body of Sari's father, Mark finds a necklace with ceramic tiles and a map of Masarova, the area where the ghosts first appeared. Sari doesn't know how her father knew about this place, but the soldiers believe it may be a clue to the situation. Later, the military receives word from the base that they will be picked up at dawn from an open area half a mile from the factory. Mark comes up with a plan to make grenades with iron filling that do ghost damage. He also modifies the hyperspectral camera to create a spotlight that can detect spectral ghosts on the street. Afterward, the soldiers send the assembly instructions for this modification to the base so they can make several of these same searchlights and arrive safely at the evacuation site. While they work on the plan, Sari finally tells his brother Bogdan the whole truth about their father and gives him the pendant. Soon after, they hear a noise outside and use a new spotlight to discover that ghosts are trying to get over the barrier by jumping power lines. The team prepares to leave, but the Spectrals follows them. Mark uses the searchlight to make the ghosts visible, and the soldiers fire under-barrel grenades filled with iron filings at them. The shots severely damage the ghosts, so the soldiers fire a few more times, creating an iron fog, and follow Sari's instructions to get to the open square. The group takes shelter in an abandoned bus where Mark realizes that the searchlight is losing power. Suddenly they hear a noise, and luckily it's tanks equipped with their own searchlights that have come to rescue them. The team quickly leaves the bus, and the new arrivals engage in a fierce battle with the ghosts using conventional weapons, resulting in many casualties. Despite their efforts, the Spectrals attack the tanks and destroy the searchlights. The team is forced to flee, but they cannot find Bogdan, who is looking for his father's pendant that he accidentally dropped. Sari runs to Bogdan, but a ghost passes through his brother. Unfortunately, Mark confirms the boy's death. Meanwhile, the ghosts are gathering in the center of the neighborhood. The soldiers are sure it's the end, but the helicopter arrives at just the right moment. Mark realizes that the wind from the helicopter's rotor makes it difficult for the ghosts to move, so he grabs all the grenades he has and smashes them to the ground. The resulting wind scatters iron filings, keeping the ghosts at bay. The team manages to escape, but the helicopters head for the refugee bunker because the base has been jeopardized. Meanwhile, chaos spreads throughout the city. Upon arriving, the team is confronted by guards who point guns at them. Luckily, Fran manages to speak to them in their language, and they are allowed to enter. Mark and Fran immediately take Sari to the hospital for medical attention. Her shoulder was injured during the evacuation. To ease the pain, Mark gives Sari her father's pendant that he took from Bogdan. Suddenly, there's a loud noise outside, but it turns out to be General Orland, who arrived with other survivors from the attack on the base, taking with him several containers of equipment. Orland tells of the attack by the Spectrals and reports that only 19 soldiers managed to survive. Because of the rapid retreat, they were unable to request help, and now they have no choice but to fortify themselves in the bunker and wait. A conflict arises among the military. Some want to act, others think it's not worth the risk. Mark suddenly interrupts the group. He puts all the facts together and explains the ghosts as being Einstein's Bose condensate, a state of matter predicted by Bose and Albert Einstein. Ghosts can't touch ceramic, they get hurt by iron, but they can pass through walls. That explains why they couldn't get to Comstock, who was hiding under the ceramic bathtub. The source of the ghosts is the Masarov power plant, and they are most likely weapons created by the enemy. Luckily, Mark has an invention that can destroy them with a plasma discharge. He suggests creating as many of these weapons as possible using equipment the soldiers brought from the base and electronics from the bunker. The soldiers begin to gather all the useful parts, and Mark gets to work building weapons. They also take out a robot called Mechanical Rottweiler and put a searchlight on it. Using the information from Fran and a map of the city, they make a flight plan to the power plant using the safest route possible. Through an inspirational speech, Orland boosts the team's morale before heading to the power plant. The first group successfully uses Mark's new weapon and destroys the first wave of ghosts, allowing the other two groups to join them. Having blocked all platforms, the soldiers completely switch to fighting the enemy while the helicopter delivers Mark, Fran, and two soldiers inside the power plant. The scientists go in search of the lab, and the soldiers suddenly meet the enemy. Upon entering the lab, Mark and Fran discover that all the scientists have been killed. Inside, they also find a weapon that allows them to scan people on a molecular level and reproduce them in condensate form. They also notice several Spectrals lock cells, but half of them manage to escape. Apparently, there was a malfunction, and the scientists couldn't stop them. They then find a machine to initiate the emergency shutdown procedure, but Fran needs time to translate all the words. Meanwhile, outside, the military realizes that the new ghosts that have appeared can regenerate, making them harder to destroy and causing more casualties. Fran guesses that if you unlock all the ports and pull the bracket, you can kill all the ghosts at once. Mark climbs on top of the machine to carry out the plan, and Fran covers him by shooting enemies coming out of the cells. However, a tornado of ghosts begins to form outside, pushing the soldiers back. Major Sessions combines the charges of the plasma weapons and shoots at the tornado of ghosts. Mark rips off the cables and the brace, causing a shockwave that throws him back down. and also causes all the ghosts to dissolve into thin air. Fran runs to find Mark and finds him on the lower level where they hear noises coming from a secret room. To their horror, they discover the brains and peripheral nervous systems of real people inside the capsules. This reveals that the scientists not only scan the humans, but also use them to create and control the ghosts. Although the people inside the capsule aren't dead, they're not fully alive either. Mark feels their pain, and it prompts him to disconnect the power cables from the pods and bring them peace. Fran objects, urging him to think bigger, but Mark has already made his final decision after realizing the possible consequences. After defeating the ghosts, the American army sends a team to rescue the soldiers and transfer them to a new base. However, after a few days, the military is again sent on a new mission. The government orders them to take the machines and capsules from the power plant to study the new technology. Before leaving, Mark says goodbye to Orland and Fran, and Sari expresses his gratitude to him in English. Then Mark gets on the plane and returns to the United States. The end.